Welcome to episode 5 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Zach Person. He's from Kingsford, Michigan. He played a year of Division I football at Toledo, and now he's transferred to Northern Michigan University for football. Thanks for joining me, Zach. How are you?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on. I want to start off by talking about UP high school football because I feel like it gets a bad rap from a lot of people. People kind of look down on it, is a good way to put it. People from downstate don't necessarily think UP high school football is at the same level in a lot of ways. I mean, I distinctly remember being in a math class at Michigan Tech, and there were a bunch of tech football players sitting around, and one of the kids was from Westwood. And the other guys basically straight up told him that he wasn't as good because he played the UP and he didn't play the same level of competition. So I mean, you played at Toledo. You're with D1 football players. Now you're at Northern. These guys are coming from all over the country. You've played UP high school football. What's your take on it?
Yeah, so I mean, I've lived kind of around the Midwest. So, I mean, I was born in Detroit, and my brother he played high school football in Farmington Hills. So I mean, he's played down there, and I mean, I've watched some of his highlights, and then I played in Milwaukee until right before my junior year, and then obviously the last 2 years at Kingsford. And to me, there's really not too much of a difference in it. At the end of the day, I mean, it's football. Um, like you said, down at Toledo, you have guys from all different divisions. Like most of the time with the UP, it's just smaller schools, but there's dudes who can ball at every single level. Like I mean, obviously I played college ball, and then up at NMU, me and Cam are playing together now, which is good to be up there. But I don't think it should get a bad rep, um, especially like me moving like mid year of high school. Like I played varsity my sophomore year in Milwaukee, and then coming to Kingsford, there really wasn't too much of a competition drop off. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's some bad football in the UP, but everywhere's got bad teams. You got a lot of teams in the UP like this last year. Nagani made a pretty deep run until he ran into West Catholic, who was a really
Yeah,
good team. I mean, it just happens. You got a lot of UP teams, Menominee, Kingsford, Nagani, that have a lot of issuing, a lot of state championships that I feel like people kind of just forget about.
yeah,
So, you know, I think UP football is definitely just, I guess, across the board, UP athletes kind of get looked down on, at every level. I mean, it takes a lot to come out of the UP, and it's not because the athletes aren't good enough. It's just because they don't get the exposure. Like
yeah,
guys like Foster Wonders, guys like you who made it to the Division One level. It's not easy to get there. You got to do extra that maybe other kids don't necessarily have to do. So kind of going off of that, talk about your recruiting process. Going through high school, talking to different Division One schools.
yeah. So I mean, it was a little bit different for me. Like when I was in Milwaukee, I mean, I was a quarterback down there. Like my sophomore year, I started 5 games at quarterback, and I kind of had some D2 looks or offers going into that. But and then kind of moving up here, made that switch to receiver, tight end, just pass catcher, and that kind of right away, just based off my size and just kind of getting some film and some plays right away. Junior year, coaches start reaching out to you, and I mean it was really difficult kind of with COVID. I think in a normal situation, my recruiting could have been totally different because like I did a lot of virtual visits, and most coaches they have a hard time really offering you until they like meet you in person. Um, and it just kind of went with that. I got more junior year film, got used to playing the new position I was playing, and then kind of when it got to summertime, I was going to camps, visiting different schools, going around the country. I mean, like you talked about, it's a lot different because we're kind of up here with no Division One schools. I mean, closest school is Central Michigan, which 6 hours away. I mean, I'm on the other side of the UP. And then like I mean, I took flights. I was out in Maryland. I was down in North Carolina, just from coaches I knew over there. Obviously it didn't work out. Those coaches moved around, did whatever they needed to, but I mean, ultimately it led to me being down at Toledo last year. So,
You did have had to have been some pretty cool experiences, though. I know you had an unofficial visit at North Carolina. You got to wear some of the sweet get some sweet pictures, and I mean that
yeah.
looked pretty sick down there.
It was. No, it was a really good experience. I was talking to Duke. I was gonna get hopefully an offer there, but then the tight end coach left, went to a different school a week later. But then Coach Navarre actually, his roommate when he was at Northern was defensive coordinator there, so he kind of helped me up. He's like, "Yeah, you can go work out for him," and then I met like the tight end coach there, who actually now is the tight end coach for the Panthers. So maybe in a couple of years here, I'll be hitting him up again. So
Yeah. Hey, and then coming out of NMU, you got Jake Witt kind of paving another way for guys out of NMU to get some possible NFL looks. But we can kind of talk about some of the NMU stuff later. Um, it's just, I guess you got to take in every experience, whether it was an unofficial offer, a visit, whatever, type thing you had going on. It's all experience that kind of builds up to where you end up, and they're all, things in the journey. So kind of, I guess, give us your thoughts on why you chose Toledo out of the offers you had.
yeah. So I mean, I knew I kind of wanted to play in the Midwest just from the familiarity aspect of it, and I mean, the MAC is a pretty solid conference. They put guys in the NFL almost every year. Like this year, they had I think 4 guys signed contracts, so you're always playing some top guys. Like when I was down there, I was on the scout team. It was my first year, and you're always going against top guys, getting better each and every day. Um, and I would say like the head coach, Coach Candle, he does a really good job of things down there with just the culture he has, and he just kind of commands respect. I would say he was probably one of the largest reasons why I ended up going there. Um, I don't necessarily totally want to talk about why it didn't work out. There's different aspects of that. If you want to ask me about that, we can kind of get into that. But yeah, I would say the main reason I went down there was because of Coach Candle.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the MAC is a pretty good conference. I mean, top to bottom, there's a lot of solid football teams in the MAC that produce, like you said, NFL guys. They get to bowl games, so you're playing pretty good football. We don't have to go into the why it didn't work out if you don't want to talk about it. Some of that stuff's a little touchy, or there's things that necessarily you wouldn't want all over social media for anyone to listen to. So we can skip over that, and just talk about the fact that you did enter the transfer portal, and you can kind of give us your experience in the portal. Once you entered, did you have people reaching out to you, coaches giving offers? How does that work once you're in the portal?
Yeah, so I mean, just to kind of put the whole Toledo thing to bed, I'll just say it wasn't really the right fit for me, and I knew there was kind of a change that needed to be in order. But then the portal, like talking about, it's a crazy thing nowadays. It really is, especially with all the Division 2 and Division 3 guys entering. So many people get stuck. Um, but yeah, I mean, I had a lot of connections from my prior like recruiting. Um, I kind of knew I wanted to maybe come back closer to home or kind of play earlier, something with that. But yeah, coaches, I mean, they follow you, they DM you right away, they call you. Like my first day, I had probably 5 or 6 offers right away, just from schools I knew in the past. Um, I mean, obviously I knew Northern, like I knew the old coaching staff up there, and like my brother goes up there now. It's close to home for me. I know a lot of guys in the team, so I mean, obviously it was something I was very interested in. Um, I mean, I'm happy to be up there now for sure.
And it's kind of a good time to join Northern football. They're starting a new chapter. They got a new coach, a younger coach. He's got different ideas. He's got different experiences. He's had some success at the Division 2 level, so he knows how to coach Division 2 football. I actually had Coach Richardson on a few episodes ago. I asked him about the transfer portal from a coach's point of view, and he kind of just said, it's a double-edged sword. Obviously, for a coach, you can bring in pieces that can really help you, but also you could lose pieces that you didn't want to lose. And this year, especially, the transfer portal has been nuts. Kind of D1 football with Colorado and Dion,
Oh
and
my gosh.
the mass exodus of guys leaving there, and then the guys he's bringing in. I mean, that's just been, as a fan, it's been fun to just like go on every day, onto the transfer portal Instagram and see who's going to Colorado, who's leaving. You got guys that transferred to Colorado and then they've already transferred out. You've got other guys who are transferring in. They've got like 6 guys from Florida State. It's just been absolutely nuts. So I think saying the transfer portal is a crazy place is kind of an understatement.
Yeah.
It's just going to get crazier as college football kind of grows in that sense. But I mean, NMU, like you said, guys up there. Are you kind of looking forward to getting to play with some Upers again? I mean, guys, guys that where they came from and how hard they had to work to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of a different culture. Like you talked about, we all kind of came from similar guys. Like, I mean, we got guys from Houghton, we got a couple of guys from down here, down from Iron Mountain, and then we got some more Kingsford guys coming up. But yeah, no, it's definitely good to be playing with some local guys, and then also just Michigan guys too. I mean, at the Division 1 level, a lot of times it's national recruiting, so it's a lot different. Like my roommate at Toledo is from Georgia. It's totally different kind of culture and everything like that. So it's definitely kind of good to be back with some familiar culture, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any goals yet? I mean, I know it's early. I know things are just kind of getting started. You guys have your spring ball and everything, and you haven't been with NMU for that long at this point. You got your first season coming up, but do you have any goals in mind personally, or things you want to see the team do in this kind of new year? I mean, obviously, changes don't happen overnight in college football. It takes a while to build, but you've got a new coach. And you're in a new place. So are there any goals that you kind of want to see happen?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, I came to NMU to be a high contributor, and I mean, I plan to do that, and they see me doing that as well. And obviously, some different yardage marks. I don't want to put too much into that, but at the end of the day, it's about winning games, and whatever we can do to win the game is what matters. And I'm the type of person that no matter what the game is, I always believe we can win. So for me, it's 14 and 0, 15 and 0, whatever it is, win a national championship. That's what I expect to go. And I think anybody on our team that doesn't think we can go undefeated and win a national championship, I don't know what you're doing. I think anybody who's on a team, especially in college football, you should believe and go into the game winning you can win. Believing you can win any game.
Yeah, that's a good attitude to have. And it's been done at Northern before, so
For sure.
there's no saying it can't be done there. Northern's got an incredible football history. I mean, some of the guys that have come out of Northern and gone on to coach, you got Mariucci, and then you got guys coming out to play. Obviously, Jake Witt's the most recent one, coming from small town Uintraug Creek, not even playing college football for his first couple of years,
Yeah.
basketball guy. And he decides, hey, I'm going to play football. Obviously, being at Northern, that's part of his development. So, that they can develop talent there. Obviously, all that Jake Witt stuff was kind of starting to form when you were making your decision. But did that, sit in the back of your mind at all? Like, hey, if I go to Northern, there's some NFL exposure here now. Like, people know that there's players that can come out of here and play at the next level. Was that sitting in your mind at all?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit. I mean, nowadays, especially with social media, like coaches will always find you. Um, Especially with me, like I'm blessed with good size and athleticism. Like right now, I already have NFL size, and I mean that's a big thing for Jake, as he's already at the NFL tackle size. He might need to put on a little bit more weight as he goes through camp here, but then, like when a coach, most of the time when coaches look at Division 2, they always think guys are undersized, but obviously that's not the case with him. He's 6'7". I think he weighed at 305 pounds or something. So I mean, yeah, it was a little bit of a consideration, but knowing that you can really go to the league from wherever you're at is really, I mean, yeah, it just kind of makes sense that he was able
Yeah.
to do that because, I mean, I don't know him incredibly personally, but we've exchanged text messages, like send him congrats, everything like that. And I did ask him kind of what he thought about the program before I was going up there. But yeah, I mean, I wish him the best for sure. And I think he's going to have some success in the coming years here. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a valid point. You could, basically go to the league from anywhere. I mean, you got guys from D3 that make it to the league. I can't think of his name right now, but wide receiver for the Packers, and then he was with the Bills, and he played at
Jake
Wisconsin
Cook.
Whitewater. Yeah,
Jake,
I
yeah.
mean, he's a more recent example, but there's other guys too that obviously played D3. I think Ali Marpet might have played D3 ball.
Do you remember
Um,
Pierre Garcon on the Redskins?
yeah,
He
yeah.
played for Mount Union, D3 in
Did he
Ohio.
really?
Yeah,
Really? Yeah. So there, I mean, there's a bunch of examples right there of guys you can go to the league from anywhere. You just got to put in the work. I also like how you mentioned the size. Obviously, like Jake, he had the size. That if you looked at scouts, they kind of said that even if he doesn't have the skill of an NFL guy necessarily, he's worth the risk because he's got the size. And you can't teach size. And the same thing with you. I mean, you've got that build. You can't teach that. That's just natural. But you can work on technique, obviously, and you can develop that later. If you're small, you're gonna stay small at this point. Guys aren't gonna hit their growth spurts anymore. Um, you can add some weight, but height's really not going to come anymore. So I think
for
that's a
sure.
valid thing to add. You got the size. You can't teach that. Um, so we'll kind of transition here to just a few small things before we wrap up. But who's your favorite football player? Do you have a specific player that you've kind of looked up to as maybe a role model, somebody you really like their game, the way they do things, or are there a couple players that kind of come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, Kelvin Johnson was always my favorite player. And then obviously he's kind of retired here. So, I mean, now it's kind of been Travis Kelsey the past couple of years too. Just kind of the way he's revolutionized the tight end position. Many people don't even call him a tight end, which is crazy, even though he weighs 250 pounds. But yeah, Travis Kelsey. And then off the field, he's definitely a character too with all the stuff he does. And I mean, also Aaron Rodgers too. I mean, I'm a Packers fan. I'm from Wisconsin, but it's a little bit hard to see him in that Jets uniform now. So I would still say he's one of my favorite players.
Yeah. Yeah. Kelsey definitely, when you look at his numbers, you wouldn't guess he's a tight end. And he does have a pretty big personality. Him and Gronk, there's something about tight ends with big personalities, I guess,
Yeah,
off the
for sure.
field. Do you still like Rodgers? I know you said he's still your favorite player, but do you there's obviously some Green Bay fans that probably hate Rodgers that he left. They're just, they cut him off. He's dead to them. Do you still like Rodgers enough as a
I do.
player?
I really do. I've never been a fan of our new GM ever since Ted Thompson left. I think they've been trying to push Rodgers out for years. Like even with all the other veterans, like you go back to Jordy Nelson, like he wanted to retire a Packer for sure, but no, he went with the Raiders, and then he retired with them, and then other people wanted to come back, like Randall Cobb. He left for a certain amount of time because he was kind of getting older. Now they did it with Aaron Rodgers, but now, no matter what happens with Aaron Rodgers, I'll always like him, especially because he brought a Super Bowl to Green Bay. I mean, I was that kind of almost made me fall in love with football. I guess. I mean, I was 6 years old at the time watching him win a Super Bowl. So
Yeah. There's a lot of Green Bay fans who probably forgot about that, on purpose. They don't want to think about the fact that he brought a Super Bowl. They're just too pissed right now that he left.
yeah,
But, I feel like if you're a good fan, you understand what that player brought to the table. And, if things weren't working out, even if he wanted to stay, you don't always necessarily get that choice. And if he wanted to leave, like that's just how sports go too. Like either way, it's a sports is a business, and guys have lives too. Like they don't necessarily, like they got to make the choices that are best for them, and the teams have to make the choices that are best for them. It goes both ways in all the situations.
yeah, for sure.
So I had your favorite team on there, but you just said you're a Packer guy. So give us your favorite team for a different sport.
Uh, Big Bucks and Brewers fan. I mean, I lived
Yeah,
in Milwaukee for 13 years, so I
all
was always,
Wisconsin sports.
oh yeah, I was always going to Bucks and Brewers games. So always
You a
been a big.
Badgers fan too?
I was doesn't make sense, but I was actually a Michigan fan growing up.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Not at all.
Are you still a Michigan fan? You jiving with the way they're going?
I do a little bit. I got a buddy from my school in Milwaukee that plays tackle there. So yeah, I still root for him a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely weird. Your Brewers, Bucks, Packers, Michigan.
Yeah,
Like,
it would make sense if it was Wisconsin, but had to throw a little curveball in there or something.
yeah, you always got to. You got to keep people on their toes.
Oh yeah,
What's your favorite food?
I'm a big steak guy. Got to keep it simple,
Yeah. Hey, it's better to be simple and steak. Football players love steak, so I mean, you
Of
can't go wrong
course,
with that.
of course.
Are you a big TV guy or movies or
I'm a pretty good movie guy, I would say. I like the comedies for sure.
what's your favorite? What's your go-to? Like you need a movie to like perk you up. You're gonna put in your favorite movie. What are you gonna watch?
Probably Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that movie. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn's my guy.
Oh,
Pretty much anything
yeah.
with him.
I love Vince Vaughn. Like out of all the comedy actors, obviously you got like Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn is my favorite. I love his sense of humor. I love his characters. He's got so many good movies. Like
Oh yeah,
man, there's just something about the way. Actually, I like him just like an actor too in general. Like if watching Hacksaw Ridge too, he plays such a different role, that like serious role. Like
for sure.
he's got a talent. He's an awesome actor.
Yeah, he's got something special for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And he's also big, like 6'6". He's got that
Yeah,
size that you can't teach.
exactly.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to kind of wrap it up. Kind of touched on everything from UP football to Toledo to Northern, and where we're heading from here. I think it's going to be an exciting year next year for Northern football. I mean, the program's kind of been sleeping for the last couple of years. Like there hasn't been really much for fans to be excited about. And I feel like people were kind of just waiting for a coaching change. They knew it was coming. They just didn't know when it was. And I feel like after my talk with Coach Richardson, he seems like the guy to take this program to new heights. I liked his energy. I liked his ideas. I'm excited. I'm a tech guy. I graduated from tech a couple weeks ago, but I still, I'm a UP guy. So any UP team, college or high school that can have some success, I want to see it happen. So if that happens to be Northern, I'm all behind it. I'm all for it. Speaking of the Tech Northern rivalry, that's one thing you guys probably want back. I think it's been like 15 or 16 straight years or something crazy that Tech has beat Northern in the Miners Cup.
Well, I hope they've had their fill of it because as long as I'm at Northern, they're not going to have it anymore.
That's the attitude.
Oh yeah,
That's what the Northern fans want to hear. I mean, I'm on this one. I'm going to stand out. I'm not going to say either way which way I want to have it because I got guys I know, like you said, the guys from Houghton, Jack Beret, a buddy of mine. I got NMU guys I want to support. I got Tech guys I want to support. So whoever wins it, I'll be behind them. I'll be
I
happy.
mean, I got friends who are playing at Tech too, but that just makes me want to win it even more.
Well, yeah, when you got friends playing at the other school, you want to be able to hold that over their heads. You want to be able to
Yeah,
give them a little shit every once in a while. Like
of
you're
course.
not going to let them live it down ever. You beat your buddies on the rival team, especially when it's like Tech Northern. I mean, if you have buddies that play on another team, you play them once every few years or something. Yeah, you beat them. It's special. But when it's the like rivals, historic rivals, and your buddies play there, and then you beat them, that's
Oh yeah.
something. So I guess we'll see what happens. Exciting. Good luck with everything this coming year. I'll be keeping tabs on you guys, seeing how you're doing. If you ever want to come back on another episode, after the season, kind of talk about how things went or whatever, I'd love to have you back. But yeah, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, for sure. Had a good time for sure.